during the transition as president-elect, the president-elect has made COVID-19 his top priority and focus, with daily meetings and briefings and strategy sessions that have been focused on, the different elements of the pandemic, including on the vaccine and vaccine rollout, including on the R&D into new and existing treatments, and an overall policy on logistics and coordination. He has a very powerful and capable team that he has assembled to take on these challenges, and they have been active and engaged already. He has already announced certain measures with respect to the vaccine rollout, as well as an action plan. So I suspect that for the president-elect, for the vice president-elect, all things will start with making sure that we help America and the world really get a handle on the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think that that is important to everything else that flows, including the economic challenges that have beset the country as well.
The second priority for Biden is economic recovery. Now, how do you think he will, chart his course over the next maybe few months into his presidency, and what might he be looking at specifically going forward?
Well, as you know, the president-elect, even before coming into office, has released his blueprint or his stimulus plan for the American recovery. It is something that we at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and U.S. India Business Council have welcomed. And I do think that getting Americans back to work, getting economic activity to resume in a safe way, and this is again where the vaccine and COVID response becomes so critically important, but also recognizing that for America to recover, both economically and from the pandemic, it's going to also require leadership on the global stage in helping our friends and partners around the world also boost their economies and contain the virus. And I see the Biden administration coming in very strong on those fronts, and they will have a willing partner from industry, and they will have a close collaboration with the U.S. Chamber and with the U.S. India Business Council on that count. Indeed.
Let's talk a bit now about Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. How do you see the elevation of Kamala Harris as the Vice President-elect coming from the Indian American community as she is, and what do you make of the Indian American community in general in terms of their growing profile in U.S. domestic politics?
Well, first of all, let me just say there's so much pride and excitement about the ascendancy of Kamala Harris and her upcoming inauguration as the first woman vice president of the United States of America. As you know, she was a presidential contender in her own right, and comes with a very, very accomplished background and just an incredible story as the daughter of immigrants. Her mother, who hailed from India and came and really carved out a life for herself here in America and raised her daughters. Her father, who came from Jamaica, and the ability of Kamala Harris to straddle the African American community, the Indian American community, and really see the both aspirations and the incredible strengths that America gains from her immigrant citizens. And so I see that as just something that has really excited certainly the Indian American community, but really all immigrants and all people of color, because they see in her the road to their own path for engaging the larger American civic life and political life. And I think it's an extraordinary moment.
Right. And finally, Ms. Biswal, your thoughts on the way forward in India-US ties. What would the relationship look like under President Biden in the White House in terms of opportunities, challenges, or for that matter, irritants in the ties?
Well, first of all, I think the U.S.-India relationship, Ramesh, as you well know, has been going from strength to strength and has been rising in importance over these past decades. And we can say that, under the first visit of Bill Clinton to India, under the presidency of George Bush, as he sought to really elevate the partnership and brokered the civil nuclear agreement between the United States and India, under Barack Obama, where we saw just a very deep engagement between the United States and India, between our leaders, but also across a whole of government effort to strengthen and deepen our ties. And that is partly because of a recognition that the U.S.-India relationship is more than a government-to-government relationship. It really touches across every aspect of both of our countries and our societies. And you saw that in the Trump administration as well, with all of the various challenges that we're focused on right now. The U.S.-India partnership is one that was also prioritized by the outgoing president and his team. But Joe Biden brings a particular relevance, a particular expertise and long-standing experience on India, and his team does as well. And I think that is reflected in the fact that in the early days of the transition, you've seen individuals who have been named to very important positions, from Secretary designate Tony Blinken and Deputy Secretary Wendy Sherman to National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Deputy National Security Advisor John Feiner, and certainly, as we now know, the Asia czar at the White House, who is going to really be focusing on the Indo-Pacific, Kurt Campbell. All of these individuals bring just an enormous experience on the U.S.-India corridor, and will be supporting and informing the president-elect's own deep experience through his Senate days and into his time as vice president on the U.S.-India corridor. And certainly our vice president-elect will also engage that. I do think that there are some very important issues where the U.S.-India partnership will be critically important. Certainly, we know the strategic and security partnership, which has been the bedrock of the partnership, and particularly right now with some of the regional geopolitical challenges that both countries are dealing with, and that partnership will continue to be very important. But also, on the big challenges that the president-elect has identified on COVID-19, on economic recovery, we know that the U.S.-India partnership is going to be very relevant. And then on climate, where Secretary Kerry, who made an unprecedented, I think, 6 or 7 visits to India during his tenure, where he will be taking the helm on climate, and he was very instrumental in the U.S.-India climate partnership on the repair. So I see a path that is going to be extremely ambitious, consequential, and intense in the relationship, and it's going to broaden this relationship to all of the big issues that our two countries are leading on, in ways that not only benefit the Indian people and the American people, but that really bring the leadership and the partnership on the global stage that we know that the U.S.-India relationship is capable of and really needs to step into in this unprecedented era that we are in.
All right, on that note, Ms. Biswal, thank you so much for making time for us on DD India. Thank you, appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and good luck to you as well as we view these events over the coming week.
Thank you.